All right, welcome everyone. We are going to be chatting about mastering macronutrients and meal planning today. I know a lot of our clients are frequently asking about how do we do macros? Do I need to count them? Do I need to calorie count? How do I do this with meal planning? It feels overwhelming. So I wanted to walk through a process that I use a lot, and I just wonder if it might be helpful for you when I'm explaining to my clients how to meal plan in a way that feels more feasible versus trying to count calories, do macros, that sort of a thing. If you are here live tonight, go ahead and drop questions or comments below, and I'll come back to the questions at the end. But feel free to say hi as well. I always like to know if you're here live today. So I will start by sharing my screen and let's dive into mastering macronutrients and meal planning. All right, my screen should be coming up now. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing that. I will fix it, keeping an eye on the chat. All right, so let's dive into this. This is really an important topic when we are talking to our clients because many of them want meal plans from us, right? So that's one of the biggest things that we're asked for from our clients. And we know that those really need to be personalized and almost built out by the client. So if we're able to show them how to do this and walk them through the process from start to finish, it can be really helpful. So the first thing that I wanted to start with is a review of those three macronutrients. So we know as dietitians that the macronutrients are the only things that really provide the fuel or the energy for our clients. So those are going to be carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And those are going to be the things that we're most mindful of when we're building out these meals. So when we're thinking about examples of foods that clients will actually be able to easily identify if they're carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, I'm just going to create a short little list of each of them just for ease. So for our carbohydrates, we've got bread, rice, this will also be pasta, beans, those starchy vegetables, which include corn, peas, potatoes, and then we also have our milk and our fruit that are going to be in the carbohydrate category. So keeping those things in mind, then let's transition to the protein category. Proteins can be a lot of different things. This includes chicken, eggs, beef, pork, tofu, fish, and so many other things. But keeping in mind that we want to be mindful of the amount of fat that are in these protein options, because if somebody is really looking for heart health or they're trying to create a calorie deficit, that can be one way where they can easily do that if they're looking for that. And then the last category is our fats. So these are going to be either unsaturated or saturated fats, and these can be things from oil, salad dressing, mayo, butter. We can do coconut oil, palm oil, sour cream, cream cheese, cream in our coffee. So lots of different options for our fat category. So for a visual, I wanted to walk through what we know as dietitians are the breakdown of these food groups. So for ease, I'm going to have all of the carbohydrate containing foods be for yellow. Blue is going to be protein, red will be fats, and then down at the bottom, I've got non-starchy vegetables. So this will be an overview for many of you, but I just want you to kind of think through this, as this might make it easier to explain why our patients could use the healthy plate model when using macronutrient knowledge to build out a balanced meal. So we know that grains and starchy vegetables are about 80 calories per serving. They have about 15 grams of carbohydrate, 0 to 3 grams of protein, and then 0 to 1 grams of fat. Fruit are typically 60 calories per serving. They have about 15 grams of carbohydrate and 0 grams of protein and fat. And then we kind of dig into carbohydrates that actually have a little bit more protein in them. I think this is really important for our clients to recognize that carbohydrates actually can provide us a good amount of protein as well. So we don't don't just have to rely heavily on those protein foods. We need fiber, we need carbohydrates. So just remembering that carbohydrates that have a little bit more protein will be things like beans, lentils, milk, and yogurt. So kind of breaking those things down a little bit more for them so they know that there is a transitional area for some of those carbohydrate containing foods. For our proteins, we're going to see things like the meat, fish, cheese, and eggs, and they can range in calories from 35 all the way up to 100 calories per ounce. Now, the only difference with these things is the fat content. So typically, every ounce of protein has 7 grams of protein in it. But we know that higher fat proteins are going to be a lot higher in calories. So again, if somebody is trying to create a calorie deficit while still meeting their protein goals, choosing those leaner protein sources more often can be really, really helpful. Showing here at the bottom, the fat grams per serving can range all the way up to 8+ grams of fat. So if we are looking at, having a high fat meat, it can significantly increase the calorie content of those foods. And as we know, a lot of these animal products can be higher in saturated fat that can contribute to heart disease, cardiovascular disease if folks are choosing those foods most frequently over time. Doesn't mean that they're out of the window and they can't ever have them. It's just really figuring out what their priorities are. Then the next category, what we've got are the fats, and those again include unsaturated and saturated fats. Calorie content is the same for these guys, whether it is unsaturated or saturated, they are 45 calories per serving. Typically, fats have no carbohydrate in them unless we're adding it to it, such as a salad dressing or a cream in the coffee where we're adding some sweetener. Typically, again, there's 0 carbohydrates and typically 0 protein. And most of these servings have about 5 grams of fat. Now here at the bottom, I just want to come down here and check out those non-starchy vegetables. These guys are powerful tools for meal planning because they are so nutrient dense, as we know. They have good amounts of vitamins, they've got good amount of minerals, fiber content. We always talk about the importance of getting fiber in our diets and how these foods can help with blood sugar regulation. We also know that fiber is good for heart health because it can help lower cholesterol. We also know that fiber helps us feel full, helps with satiety, helps with bowel regularity. So it's really important that we include lots of colorful foods that can come from this non-starchy vegetable category. Keeping in mind too, all of these servings are about 25 calories per serving for a pretty high volume of food. And so that's why it can be really great to add those into protein dishes, to carbohydrate dishes, to mix things in just to give it more texture, more satisfaction, different flavors, because then that way we can kind of see what different foods do for our clients to help them with the meal planning strategies. If this is helpful so far, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Also, if you have any questions as I'm going through, please feel free to ask them there. All right, so visually, I want to dive next into what does it look like visually for our clients to consider these foods? Some folks are really great with pictures. So I wanted to talk through, again, yellow being our carbohydrate containing foods. That's going to include our bread, rice, pasta, starchy vegetables, and our fruits. And then we've got the carbs with more proteins here, the proteins, and then the proteins with a little bit higher fat, and then our fat choices. Then at the bottom, lots of non-starchy vegetables for our clients to visualize. So now that we've got that kind of broken down for our clients, these are the types of foods that fall into these different macronutrient categories. How do we build out a balanced meal with these guys and then transition more into the meal planning process? So when we're thinking about the healthy plate method in review, we want to remember that it includes starch, grains, and breads, and we want to fill a quarter of our plate with starch, grains, and breads. And those are our carbohydrate containing foods, and they can be a great source of fiber. We also know that fruit is going to be on the side of the plate, typically if we're using the healthy plate method, and those are going to be carbohydrates. Another great source of fiber if folks are choosing more whole foods, and whole fruits, and more colorful versions of those foods as well. And then milk is going to be on the side of the plate. That is also going to be a carbohydrate, but again, it is a good source of protein. So thinking back to kind of that process that we went through, milk is a really good source of protein if we look at the macro makeup of these foods. And then for our non-starchy vegetables, we want half of our plate to be filled with non-starchy vegetables. These ones, again, are going to give us a lot of fiber, a lot of vitamins and minerals, give us bulk, give us different textures, make the meal more interesting, right? Because we know what a lot of starches and protein taste like, but we may be missing those non-starchy vegetables that just give us a little bit of zip or a little bit of texture or crunch that we might be looking for. So these guys are kind of a free food. They're very low in carbohydrate, and they give us a lot, again, of that fiber piece that we're really looking for and the vitamins and minerals. All right, and then we've got the meat and protein. This should be filling out a quarter of your meal. And again, if we're choosing lean meats more often, that can be a great strategy for creating that calorie deficit and reducing those saturated fats. Not always a requirement, but again, just keeping that in mind based off of what your client's goals are. So choosing those proteins that work with your client's goals, those are really great strategies to start with. And then for our fats, the suggestion is including those and choosing the unsaturated fats more often, just because we know that those can be really, really great. The Mediterranean diet is really based off of using a lot of monounsaturated fats, and we know that those can be really beneficial for reducing inflammation overall. So the fats will be a fat, and they will be in addition to your meal planning strategy. So visually, if we're going back to the color coding that we talked through, yellow is going to be our carbohydrate containing foods. So we've got a quarter of our plate coming from those starches, grains, and breads. And then we've got our milk or yogurt on the side, and we've got our fruit on the side, again, yellow for those carbohydrates. Protein is taking up a quarter of our plate, and typically choosing those lean proteins more often can be really helpful. And then for our non-starchy vegetables, if we can fill the bulk of our plate with those guys and mix them into other foods as we're building out the meals, that's a great strategy, again, for just satisfaction, texture, color, enjoyment, and all of those things. And then including our healthy fats as we so choose. So visually, this is something that our clients can use with meal planning on day one. They can actually look at their plate, use this as a goal, and say, does my meal look similar to that visualization? And again, they don't have to change anything right off the bat. It can be just simply doing an assessment. Each meal, how's it looking? Okay. And then they can come up with questions. How do I improve this meal? And they can work with you, the dietitian, to really refine things and make that better. So this is just, again, a brief overview of all of that information that I've already shared. When we're talking about starches and grains, we know that they're a carbohydrate. They're about 80 calories per serving. And again, you don't have to do this, but I just want you to kind of know this is how it works with the meal planning process for our folks. That's why the healthy plate works. So if somebody needs about 1,500 calories based off of their age, height, weight, gender, physical activity, then they're going to need about 6 starches and grains. If they need 1,800 calories, they're going to need 7. If they're getting closer to 2,000 calories, then getting closer to 8 servings in a day can be something that they can shoot for. And again, starches and grains are a great place to get fiber and also a really good place to get some source of protein. Then for our fruits, those are a carbohydrate, and they are 60 calories per serving. If somebody's shooting for 1,500 calories, then 3 servings can be a good start. For 1,800, 4 servings can be a good start. And then for 2,000, 4 is still pretty good for that. For our milk, milk is a carbohydrate, but it does have a good amount of protein in it. If we're shooting for the low-fat versions, they are around 80 to 100 calories per serving. So I just estimated it here to be about 100. For 1,500 calories per day, or if you're doing a meal planning with folks that are looking for that target, 2 servings per day is a suggestion. For 1,800, 3 servings, and then for 2,000, 3 servings should still be just dandy. And then we come down to those non-starchy vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables are a freebie, right? Unless they have medical conditions that limit those, these can be foods that are really hard to overconsume, right? The reason that these are great is they're very low in calorie, but again, they offer a lot of health benefits that we know of, and we just don't get enough fruits, vegetables, and whole grains anyway. So including these guys is always a plus. So for 1,500 calories, getting 4+ servings per day is great. Same for 1,800. And again, pushing a little bit more for that 2,000 calorie meal plan with 5+ can be really helpful. For meat and meat substitutes, this will be the macronutrient category for protein. These ones, again, if I'm just shooting for the middle of the road, I'm looking for more of that 55 to 75 calories per ounce. So if somebody's shooting for 1,500 calories for their meal plan, 6 ounces will give us a good target. So maybe, 1 to 3 ounces at a meal, depending on their hunger cues. Same thing for 1,800, they may be getting 2 to 3 ounces. And then for 2,000 calories, 2 to 3 ounces again, or even up to 4 if their protein goals are, still within that 2,000 calorie range. And then for our fats, those are a fat, and they are 45 calories per ounce that we went through. For 1,500 calories, 3 servings per day is a good target. For 1,800, 4 servings per day is a good target. And then for 2,000, that may be closer to 4 to 5 servings per day. So with that knowledge, you can see that visually, this is how we can use that healthy plate model to break things down and really help build out some balanced meals for our clients and help them better understand this process. So I wanted to visually walk you through how we complete a healthy plate model using the healthy plate method and how this works out calorie-wise. Now, again, I don't encourage my clients to calorie count. I just use this process to walk them through how the healthy plate really aligns with their energy goals, while also aligning with their carbohydrate, protein, and fat targets. So visually, this meal is very large. It is. There's a lot of volume. And let's walk through what this looks like volume-wise, but then also energy-wise and how it fits within that 1,500 to 2,000 calorie range. And then if your clients need more calories than that, how you can, adjust that based off of that table that we were talking about. So let's start with the breads, grains, and starches. This is 2/3 cup of rice. So that's about 2 servings of starch. So that is going to be 160 calories of our meal. Then if we do a cup of berries, that's 1 serving of fruit, and that's going to give us 60 calories. Again, we've got some good fiber in there. Lots of color, makes it really pretty, very enjoyable. An 8-ounce cup of non-fat milk, if they so choose, that can be an option. It doesn't have to be, but that is going to be 1 serving of milk. That will also give us 8 grams of protein if they're using cow's milk, and that is 90 calories. For our non-starchy vegetables, these are both cooked. So they are cooking down about half in size, but it's a cup of steamed vegetables and then a cup of greens over here. So a half a cup cooked is 1 serving. So each of these cup portions is actually 2 servings of non-starchy vegetables. So it's a big volume of non-starchy vegetables. Again, not required that our clients eat this much, but I just want to show my clients how much volume you can actually get at a meal and how satisfied you can be by just using all of these foods in the right proportions. So if we have 2 cups of steamed or cooked vegetables, it's actually 100 calories total. And then for our meat and protein, I have 3 ounces of chicken here. So this is 3 servings, and choosing the lean meats most often. I'm just going to give that average of about 55 calories per ounce. So this 3-ounce chicken breast is going to be 165 calories. And then I'm cooking the chicken in some oil, and then I also use some oil to cook the vegetables in as well, and season them with herbs and spices however you'd like to. So each of those are 45 calories for a total of 90 calories. So if I add all of these up, it's a huge volume of food. And a lot of times my clients tell me, Rochelle, I can't eat this much. Great. What we can do is modify this meal a little bit and use some of these foods as snacks between meals if you do get hungry, right? So if we break this down, this meal is about 665 calories based off of these estimations here. So that really falls within our window of 1,500 to 2,000 calories per day. If we do that, we want to have the meals be anywhere between 500 to 700 calories per meal. This actually fits within that perfectly. And then if the meal needs to get smaller due to hunger cues, we can also use those snacks between meals to really make sure that they're feeding themselves enough throughout the day. So with that information, that is the overview of mastering macros and meal planning that I've got for you today. I'm going to check the chat here. I'm not seeing any questions so far, but I'll keep an eye out on the chat for now. And I'm not sure. Let me see. I'm going to refresh it because I don't know if Facebook is showing me everything. Sorry, guys, if you have questions coming through. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything coming through, but if you do have questions and I don't see them right now, you can drop your questions and I can always circle back around and answer any questions that come up for you. But I hope this was really helpful. Again, let me know if you have any questions. We can have conversations in the chat, in the comments of this live. And I really appreciate you guys for being here today. And again, join me next time. I'm going to be doing a live next week on how to build more balanced meals with the healthy plate model. All right. Thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.